Hi, welcome to Spec Hunter. Today we are looking at the Sony Xperia 10 Mark VII. This phone arrives in 2025 as a compact and practical mid-ranger in a market dominated by big flashy flagships and aggressively priced budget phones. The big question is, does this device have what it takes to stand out, or will it just get lost in the crowd? Let's find out together. The Xperia 10 Mark VII carries a look that is instantly recognizable as Sony. The design is simple, clean, and a little retro. The size is 153 by 72 by 8.3 mm, and the weight is only 168 grams. That makes it light, slim, and very comfortable to hold. You can slip it into a jacket or pocket and almost forget it is there. The back has a rubbery matte finish that feels pleasant and gives a strong grip, though it attracts dust and smudges quickly. My unit is turquoise, which looks subtle and understated, but Sony also offers it in white or charcoal black if you prefer a different look. On the front, Gorilla Glass Victus 2 gives solid protection, and the phone is rated IP65 and IP68 for water and dust resistance. That means it can handle rain or an accidental spill with no issue. I spilled coffee on it once, and it shrugged it off easily. The bezels, however, are thick by today's standards, making it look a little old-fashioned compared to the edge-to-edge displays we now see everywhere. Some people may appreciate the retro charm, while others will call it outdated. What still makes the design unique is the flat edges, the side-mounted fingerprint scanner, and the dedicated shutter button for the camera. And yes, the 3.5mm headphone jack is still alive here, which is great news for anyone who prefers wired audio. The display brings one of the biggest changes this year. Sony has moved away from the tall 21:9 aspect ratio and gone for a more standard 19.5:9 format. The screen itself is a 6.1-inch OLED with Full HD Plus resolution. The pixel density is sharp at over 400 pixels per inch, and Sony's Luminous tech ensures rich colors with full DCI-LP3 coverage. The new aspect ratio feels more practical for everyday use. Videos in 16:9 look bigger, gaming feels more natural, and typing is more comfortable. Brightness is decent but not class-leading. At around 676 nits manual and a little over 1,000 nits in auto, it is usable outdoors but not dazzling under bright sunlight. Compared to Samsung's brighter mid-range OLED panels, it falls short. The highlight here is the 120 Hz refresh rate, which finally makes scrolling smooth and responsive. The only issue is how the software manages it. The phone often locks itself at 120 Hz even when not needed, draining the battery, and drops down to 60 Hz in many games unless you manually adjust settings. Still, for watching Netflix, browsing, or casual gaming, it works fine and feels smooth overall. Inside, the Xperia 10 Mark VII is powered by the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 with 8 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage. Storage can be expanded with a micro SD card, something very few mid-rangers now offer. Performance is steady for everyday use. Apps open quickly, multitasking is smooth, and light gaming is handled with ease. I jumped between Chrome, YouTube, and Asphalt 9, and everything ran without lag. The chip is not the most powerful in its class. Phones like the Poco F7 deliver stronger performance at similar prices. But what Sony does well is thermal management. Even after long gaming sessions or extended streaming, the phone stayed cool and comfortable to use. This makes it a reliable daily driver, even if not a powerhouse. Cameras are an area where expectations are mixed. The phone carries a 50-megapixel main sensor with optical stabilization, a 13-megapixel ultra-wide, and an 8-megapixel front camera. In daylight, the main sensor produces good photos with pleasing colors and contrast. Zoom in, and you notice some noise, but for most casual use, it does the job. Portraits are fair, though edge detection can sometimes struggle with busy scenes or fine details. The ultra-wide is weaker, delivering softer images with limited dynamic range. Shadows often lose detail, and highlights blow out under bright light. Selfies are usable for social media but nothing special, especially in low light where the small 8-megapixel sensor struggles. Low light shots with the main camera are better than expected for the price, with decent exposure and detail. The night mode activates automatically, which helps, though you cannot switch it on manually. For video, the main camera records 4K at 30 frames per second with decent stabilization, producing solid clips for casual shooting. The ultra-wide, however, is limited to 1080p and delivers dark and blurry results. Battery life continues to be a Sony strength. The 5000 mAh cell lasts comfortably through a full day of heavy use. With streaming, browsing, and gaming, I still had about 20% left at night. At 120 Hz, the battery drains a little faster, but switching to 60 Hz gives you about 10% more endurance. Charging speed is where Sony lags behind rivals. The phone supports 30-watt wired charging, which takes nearly 2 hours to reach full. Competitors like the Poco F7 or Honor 400 charge in half the time or less. Sony does add smart features like limiting charge to 80% or scheduling a full charge by morning, which helps keep the battery healthy in the long run, but the slow speed remains a drawback. On the software side, the Xperia 10 Mark VII runs Android 15 with Sony's clean, near-stock interface. It feels light, uncluttered, and smooth. During setup, you can choose which Google apps to install, which keeps things simple. It is refreshing compared to heavily skinned versions of Android that come with pre-installed apps you never use. Features like Side Sense, which adds a small handle for quick app shortcuts, are useful once enabled, though it is off by default. Perhaps the biggest strength here is software support. Sony promises for major Android updates and 6 years of security patches. That means this phone will stay up to date until 2031, which is rare for a mid-range device and adds a lot of value. Pricing places the phone in an interesting spot. In Europe, it launches at €449, and in the UK, it comes in at £399. Online deals bring it down closer to €420 or even £380 if you shop around or take trade-in offers. At that price, it becomes more appealing. The competition is fierce, though. Samsung's Galaxy A56 offers a larger, brighter screen and faster 45-watt charging. The Poco F7 has much faster 90-watt charging and stronger gaming performance. Honor's 400 series has bigger displays and 66-watt charging. Against these, Sony seems modest. But what makes the Xperia 10 Mark VII different is the combination of features you rarely find together. You get a compact build, IP68 water resistance, a headphone jack, expandable storage, and stereo speakers. For someone who values these practical touches, the Xperia makes sense. So, should you buy it? The Xperia 10 Mark VII is a solid and practical phone. It does not try to be flashy, but it gets the basics right and adds features that many rivals skip. It is compact, durable, smooth to use, and backed by long software support. The clean Android experience is refreshing, and extras like the headphone jack and microSD slot add real convenience. But it is not perfect. The bezels feel outdated, charging is slow compared to the competition, and the ultra-wide camera disappoints. At its full price, it is hard to recommend over rivals like the Poco F7 or Galaxy A56, which offer more power and faster charging for the same money. But at a discounted price closer to €380 or pounds, it becomes a much stronger option, especially if you care about compact size and practical features. In the end, this phone is for a specific type of user. If you want something small, simple, and reliable with long-term support, the Xperia 10 Mark VII fits that need. If you prefer cutting-edge design, ultra-fast charging, or stronger cameras, there are other choices. Either way, Sony continues to carve its own path in the mid-range space, and this phone shows why some people remain loyal to the brand. What do you think? Does the Xperia 10 Mark VII's mix of practicality and retro charm win you over, or do you prefer something flashier from the competition? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, please like the video and subscribe for more. And don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.